Hi, I'm Jill Sylvester, licensed mental health counselor and author of the self-help book, Trust Your Intuition, 100 Ways to Transform Anxiety and Depression for Stronger Mental Health, and the young adult fiction novels, The Land of Blue and the Devon Dream Agent series. Each of my books deals with the themes of mental health and intuition, because for me, it all comes down to listening to and trusting your own inner voice in order to live your very best life.
Hi, and welcome to this week's podcast. Looking forward to the discussion today, as always, with astrologer Jill Jardine, who really needs no introduction at this point because we've had her on several times, and we look forward to speaking with her, especially at the start of the new year. So welcome, renowned astrologer Jill Jardine.
Thank you, Jill. So happy to be back on your podcast. We've got a lot to share with your listeners about the astro activity in the first 6 months of 2023.
Excellent. Okay, so my first question for you is, let's talk about why it was so heavy at the beginning of the year. I know my clients, myself, is just like, you couldn't get the mojo going. It took a while, and everything just seemed so dense and heavy. So enlighten us, please, as to why that was astrologically.
Yes, that's a great question. I actually did warn my listeners in my January 2023 Astro Update on Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine that we were going to have a very heavy start, very slow start to January 2023, and that was for several reasons astrologically. The big one that everybody's familiar with, Mercury retrograde. We went into the year with a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn that had started on the 29th of December, 2022, and it finally went direct on the 18th of January. We also had, and it was retrograde in Capricorn, which added to a cluster of, we actually started the year with 4 planets in Capricorn, Mercury retrograde, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Pluto conjunct together, which is an intense heaviness. Then Venus shifted into Aquarius on the 2nd of January, which lightened up that piece. But the heaviness continued because we also had Mars retrograde in the sign Gemini, and that didn't go forward until the 12th. So we actually really start the new year on January 22nd, the Lunar New Year. We just came out of the new Lunar New Year. We had a really nice shift in 3 days. The 20th of January, the sun shifted into Aquarius. Then on the 21st, we had the new moon in Aquarius. Yay. And the next day marked the beginning of the year of the rabbit. And we have been having these new moons in the very first degrees of each sign since about September, which is very cool, which means that like we're really getting new beginnings. So I always say anyway that the new year doesn't kick off until the Lunar New Year. That can be any time during the sun's transit through Aquarius from about January 20th to February 18th every year. It's when it is the new moon in Aquarius. It's a lunar festival, so it's a different date every year. But that's the official kickoff. Where we're both Aquarius is Jill. Yes, we've had Lunar New Year's occur on our birthdays in the past year. If you're an Aquarian, chances are you've had a Lunar New Year occur on your birthday. And a little bit about this to excite people. This is actually the year of the rabbit. This is a really good time. We're in a 2-week window from the 22nd of January through February 5th at the full moon in Leo with the sun in Aquarius. This 2 weeks is a great time to set intentions. If you didn't get off to the start with starting those health regimes and diets, this is the time to initiate. And it's a good time to clean your house, clean your clutter. Traditionally, at this time, we get fresh fruit to signify abundance. Pineapple and apples are for health, and oranges. So really spruce up and clean up your place. Make sure all those Christmas decorations are gone. And have a lot of red around. Have red roses. Wear red during this 2-week cycle to initiate the Lunar New Year. It's the year of the rabbit, considering it's a lucky year in their system, in the Chinese system. It should bring more prosperity and luck. It goes until February 9th, 2024, January 22nd, 2023, until February 9th, 2024. And I would ask your listeners to ponder what they were doing in 2011, which was the last year of the rabbit.
Why is that?
Well, because it's like that was the last time we had this Chinese year, the rabbit. I've been asking a lot of my clients what happened in 2011, and most of them have positive memories from that year, like good things happened, because the rabbit year symbolizes patience and luck. And the other thing is that if people were born in any of these years, they're having their Chinese year, or in astrology, it's called the Jupiter return. If they were born in 1999, 1987, 1975, 1963, 1951, 1939, this is actually their Chinese year.
That's really cool. You got me thinking about the rabbit that Carl, my husband, and I saw coming home Saturday night from dinner. It was so weird because driving into the driveway, so this is like at night, it wasn't super late, but still at night, and a rabbit literally ran across our driveway with a big cottontail. We both looked at each other like it was just weird, you know what I mean? Just having a rabbit out in the window running across the driveway. Not that you can't see them, but you like Googling rabbit and all that. And I totally forgot it's the Lunar New Year.
Oh yeah, that was a good sign.
Saturday night. Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah, what they would say, very auspicious. Very auspicious, Jill. Good luck.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, and a happy birthday to you because it was yesterday, yeah?
Yep. 12323 this year, coinciding with Lunar New Year.
I love that.
Auspicious there, the numerology, 12323.
Excellent. Excellent. Very cool. All right. So for listeners that are, maybe just starting to get their motivation around this, 21st, 22nd time frame of January and getting motivated, what are some other things they can do to stay focused and really feel like their dreams are going to happen? Because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this morning is this feeling that just the population I'm working with is people feeling, like you mentioned, patience.
Yeah.
And people feeling like, come on already. Like, whatever they're asking for, whether it's a relationship or a new job or, just things that people have been waiting and feeling like, what the heck? So can you speak to that for this month, first half of the year, whatever you want to, shed some light on there for people?
Yes, that's a great question. As I had said to people, use January to get your ducks in order, but we're kind of in a green light zone right now. What happened on the same day as the Lunar New Year, the 22nd of January, is that the planet Uranus went direct after being retrograde since August of 2022. So that now means from January 22nd, 2023 through April 21st, every single planet is going direct. It's go time. No Mercury retrogrades until April. We'll talk about the other Mercury retrogrades coming up this year later. But people need to know this is the time to get your groove on. And so we're in a bit of a push right now. Like the energy is going to start pushing us forward. This is a really good cycle from about the third week here in January through March. For like, you still get some time to get your ducks in order, especially in February. There'll be a cycle at the end of February I'll talk about where people can really go within and get ready, because we're all getting launched in March. March is a paradigm shift month, which I'll get to and let people know why March. But this is like a prelude, this time period here from about the 22nd of January to about the 20th of February, while the sun's transiting through the sign Aquarius, and we have several planets transiting Aquarius. People can start opening their minds. They can make plans. It's a really good time for socializing and making connections. So professionally connecting, work your group, find your tribe. It's all about connection. It's also about learning technology. People are going to think I'm technologically an idiot, but I just learned how to do a PowerPoint presentation because I have to present in an international astrology conference, and I've never had to do PowerPoints. And, our generation, obviously, we're not in our 20s or 30s anymore, but we don't have that as a skill set. And so this is a great time to learn the technology, get a new computer if you've been putting it off. I've had to upgrade my computer. I ended up getting a new computer. All the technological things are really favored right now. Even those of us who are spiritual, who it's not our, forte, we can upgrade ourselves. And that's what people need to think of. We're upgrading right now. So whatever you haven't done, and again, it's kind of personal, but you're also putting your tethers out to connect with people who can work with you, help you, or that you, if you're a healer, you're going to start hearing back from your clients. I mean, the Mercury retrograde was so funny because right on the 18th, the day it went direct, my phone started getting blasted and my emails with clients wanting readings who were from maybe even as far back as 10 years ago. And certainly the pre-COVID people are coming out of the woodwork now too. So I would say it's a time to connect and work on your technological skills and, get ready to launch in March. So it's more of an outer time right now. And then we're going to be internal again as we get into the second half of February when the sun goes into Pisces, which is going to be this year. Sun goes into Pisces on the 18th. So basically from the 22nd of January, as I said, through the 18th, it's get your ducks in order, start making strides out in the world. We're going to have a Leo full moon on the 5th of February, which is all about creativity. So you got to look at what is your gift. Leo in astrology symbolizes the gift and the 5th house, which are related to our creativity, a gift or skill we are born with, children of our body, mind, or spirit. It also symbolizes recreation and other ways to have fun. So this is that full moon on the 5th. So around that time period, you want to create and recreate. So if there was anything on the back burner creatively for people, it's time to trot that out and take it to the next level.
Before we get into the whole, beginning of March and end of February, getting a little more into that, I just want to make a note and see what you think about this. I feel like this whole thing you're talking about with upgrading your life and preparing, I feel like sometimes when people are waiting and they're like, all right, I'm mastering patience already, there's like always, right? The universe knows what we don't. And it sounds like in line with what you're saying, there's this thing of like, there's still a little more for you to do. So is that essentially what you're saying with the upgrading? Because that's what I feel is happening. It's like Spirit's like, or universe is like, we know what you want. We want to provide it, but there's still some things that you have to figure out and fine tune and tweak, and it'll be so much better when you get there. Like, do you, is that kind of what you feel for the beginning of the year? And to me, it just sounds like astrologically, it's what I'm sensing energetically. It's like, just hold on. Like there's more things, like just look inside yourself. There's still some things you have to fine tune and align with so you can get in that vibration to bring it to you. So give me your thoughts on that.
I totally agree. We're being given a grace period. Like that's when I was making my January 2023 Astro update in December, I saw quite clearly that, wow, thank goodness we start with the retrograde. Yeah, it's going to feel sluggish, but it's a grace period to catch up. And so we're still catching up. And after you catch up, then you have to start thinking about what you do want to create. And then the action time really comes at the end of March. We're going to have, when we get to March, people are going to be blown away. I actually feel this is a dimensional shift. I'm calling it a paradigm shift. So that's why,
bring it on.
Yeah, we want our ducks in order. We have until about March 21st. So I say use this time leading up to that as a grace period. And also people are being asked to get very centered within, because the third dimensional realities are going to continue to be crazy with all kinds of situations and circumstances out of control. So what people have to understand, that they have control of themselves and their own experiences and how they react to what's out there. So this is a time to align with the divine, their divine self, their higher self, keep clearing the subconscious blocks, fears, maybe pull away from, especially in February, pull away from the media of news. There will continue to be things, as I said, out there, and April should be a very interesting month because it's an eclipse month. So there could be something very big that happens out in the world that could rock people. So we're being asked to get very centered, very aligned, very clear, very connected. I always suggest this, if people don't already have this, that every morning people should have some sort of centering activity, whatever it is they do, pray, write in their journal, walk, chant, yoga, anything. And as far as time, it doesn't even meditate. It goes without saying. It doesn't. Some people won't do it because they're like, oh, I only have 5 minutes. It's like sometimes it's better.
It's all about
no
intention.
Time.
It's all about intention.
Right. Just take the time, even before you get out of bed. Maybe do some breath work. Do some, just sit up in the bed and meditate. It's really easier than people realize to integrate. And don't put like a time stamp on it, like, oh, it's got to be a half hour or an hour. And when people tend to, and each day mix it up, you can read some spiritual books. Just have what we call a sadhana in Sanskrit, which is some spiritual practice at the same time every day. If it's impossible to do it in the morning, do it at night before you go to sleep. The two very powerful times in the Vedic teachings are at sunrise and at sunset, because the power of the light within and without is very palpable.
I love that, and I think it's only going to enhance, what happens externally, right? It's like you said, it's our reaction, our response time. So tell us about that. You're saying March is going to be an action-packed month. Go into that a little bit more, and obviously I'm intrigued by what you're talking about with April. So let's elaborate there.
All right. So let me just give people some key dates, though, in February.
Sure.
February is going to be the reboot month. Let's say they get in a whirlwind here between the Lunar New Year and then the Leo full moon on the 5th. Then we're going to actually have Mercury go into Aquarius, which will be stimulating everybody's mind from February 11th to March 12th. Then we have a little bit of a nice calmer time as the sun enters Pisces on February 18th, and we have a Pisces new moon on the 20th of February. And this is the February 20th. Pisces new moon is very much a retreat. I mean, it seems to coincide with school vacation here in New England, but it is a good time to just get away from it all if you can. Water, it's the element of water. So if you can soak in a hot tub or go to a Hawaiian or Caribbean beach, good for you. But it's a time to connect with the heart and soul. And this is when I would set a spiritual practice that you can do to make yourself feel more centered. This is, if you don't get to it, let's say now, that new moon on the 20th of February is a good time. And so then March, things start amping up. And the prelude to this is when Venus is the first planet to go into Aries, and she steps into Aries from February 20th to March 16th, okay? So that's more like people with relationships, and this is the, blooming of new ideas and new ways to be in the world. So, okay, here we go, March 2023, the big game changer. There's a lot of astrological activity, but the keynotes are that Saturn, the Lord of Karma, is switching signs in Western astrology from the sign Aquarius, where it's been for 2.5 years, into the sign Pisces for the first time since 1994 to 1996, and that's on the 7th of March. And then later in the month, Pluto enters the sign Aquarius for the first time since 1778 and 1798. So these are two outer planets, and they are having to do with the collective, okay? And Saturn is rules form, okay? Saturn rules form, and interestingly enough, Pisces is the form list. So we're going to have the sign that rules form, the planet that rules form, go into the sign of the form list. So again, I'd invite people, if they were alive, to think back what was going on in 1994 to 1996. So Saturn changes every 2.5 years, but it returns to the same sign between 28 and 30 years, which is called a Saturn return. So those people born in 1993 actually through 96 are having their Saturn return. So are the people born in 1964 to 1960, early 1967. They're having something called a Saturn return, which means that you have to reevaluate and restructure your life, basically. But the Saturn into Pisces is going to be I have a whole podcast on it that calls Planetary Paradigm Shift. Saturn transits into Pisces March 7, 2023 through February 2026. So, Pisces is also considered a spiritual sign, and it has to do with boundaries or no boundaries. So, there's going to be a lot of people feeling like they're connected. It's very spiritual, but it can also be Pisces is ruled by Neptune, which is a planet that can be glamorous or delusional. So people might have some level of delusion, but generally, if you think back to 1994, I don't know if you were doing the work you were doing. That was boom time in the spiritual fields. That's we were having everything was in person, though. Interestingly enough, because it was before the internet, really, before Facebook for sure. But people think about it, Jill. I remember all the whole health expos. There were tons of New Age bookstores. Yoga was finally, coming into the mainstream. Deepak Chopra, Doreen Virtue, and her angel cards, even though she became a born again recently. But it was this burgeoning New Age movement, and it was really, really fun for those of us who were there in the front line of it. So there's going to be another reawakening, I predict, of the collective, a spiritualization. The only caveat is we have to watch out for the fake teachers and fake gurus because, again, Pisces can be delusional, and the downside of Piscean energy, it's addictive and codependent. So as therapists working in those realms, that will have quite a explosion as well. I feel like any addictive or codependent behaviors will be coming out, and also though Saturn will find solutions in the collective to how to treat addiction and things. I think it's there's both the positive and negatives of it.
Yeah, I like this actually because how my perspective of it is it's light and dark, right? It's taking shining a light on the darkness. So if our behavior, or the people that we love, and we all have our addictions, we all have our vices in different ways, but it sounds to me like what you're saying, so correct me if I'm wrong here, is that our darkness is coming out, and the light is going to be able to shine on that. So we can look at it and be, frightened of addictions, or we can look at it and say, this is a great opportunity for us to take that part of our shadow and say, I don't want this anymore. So people are listening thinking, oh God, this is going to be a really tough time. It's going to be dark. It can be, that's one side of the coin, but the other way is to say could be a very enlightening time, so that if you're prone to delusion, you're prone to addiction, this is a great time to get really real with yourself and expose those parts of yourself, just being a human being, and say, do I want this anymore? And put them to rest. So tell me what you think about that. Okay.
Well, I totally agree with you, because this is interesting, because Saturn is considered, Saturn's form, but Saturn's also the Lord of discipline. So speaking of like getting disciplines or practices together, Saturn can actually help people with having a discipline to resist addictive behaviors or substances. I mean, as long as people set new structures in place, that's going to help them a lot to work with the energy that's showing up for them. That's the beauty about Saturn. Saturn is all about form and structure. So if we restructure our life so that whatever our addictions or our shadow content is, we can label it, we can see it, and we can create a lifestyle where it's not really going to fit in, or we do other patterning and behavioring. And that's where Saturn's going to help. The other really cool thing is that I think because Saturn in Pisces, it indicates the end of a cycle, okay? So we're at the end of a 30-year cycle. So a lot of things are going to leave. And, I think because it's the last cycle in the 12th house, it has a connection with death and leaving the body. So I think people are going to become very aware of end-of-life processes, and we might see a reformation with hospice and end-of-life care, and even maybe the integrating of things, for better or for worse, such as cannabis in medicinal ways or psychedelic mushrooms, so that people can have, under moderation, spiritual experiences before they leave their body, which, that's sort of what Saturn and Pisces is. It's about, okay, we have a limited amount of time in this physical form. How am I going to connect with the divine while in a body, which is what the Tibetans say is the reason we live, the Tibetan Buddhists, that, life is the pathway to death. So if you can understand that this is temporal while you're in a body, the transition out of the body is smoother. And so that kind of awareness is going to come into the mainstream more. And plus the baby boomers are all going to be getting older and dying. And the way they want their end of death care is going to be very different from the generations before them.
Yeah, it also creates an opportunity for conversations with people who aren't in that place spiritually. I'm thinking of, clients, parents, and conversations that have come up and wanting to help people change and heal before they pass on, for those listeners who are going through those experiences right now. So what I'm hearing you say, again, tweak it and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that there is an opportunity to explore that perhaps and have these conversations at a deeper level if we choose. Yes?
Yes. I totally agree. People are going to be waking up to things that perhaps never came across their radar or consciousness. There's huge consciousness shift coming in our society. And the second part of this paradigm shift is at the end of March when Pluto goes into Aquarius. And Aquarius is basically, we're all one. We're all connected. So there's going to be a lot more global connectivity, and we all share this planet. What are we going to do about it, especially with the toxicity? And there'll be a big focus on water, by the way, with Saturn and Pisces, because it's a water sign. It's the final water sign. So cleaning up our water supplies, lack of water, droughts, inundations, which we're seeing, which I predicted that there were going to be more inundations, unfortunately. But then how do we clean up our water supply, including the oceans? And how can we, so anything, water purification, anything to do with water is going to be really the focus of attention, which is kind of a good thing.
Nice. Okay. So April, talk about that. I want to, watch the time here for you and your time. Make sure we get it all in.
Yeah,
so
real
April.
fast. Yeah, real fast about March. Launch time will be March. So we're going to have the Aries equinox, or the astrological New Year is going to be coming on March 20th when the sun goes into Aries. It's the vernal equinox here in the northern hemisphere. It's coming on the 20th, spring equinox, and then on the 21st is a new moon, both in Aries. This is launch time. We're going from water, from the Piscean water, even though Saturn has just gone into Pisces, we're going into fire. So this is when people are going to get their groove on and really try to move forward in their lives. And it will be like a swoosh. I feel like it's going to come in like, whoo, something just shifted majorly.
This is end of March, you're saying?
Yeah, 20th, 21st of March. And then on the 23rd, like the same week, we're going to have that Pluto in Aquarius until July. So it gets to dip its foot into Aquarius until Pluto goes into Aquarius on the 23rd, and then it will retrograde in back into Capricorn on June 11th. So anyway, we got to dip our foot into this Aquarian energy, and then it comes back next year in 2024 for 14 years. So yeah, March is going to be quite active, especially as we get into the second half. And then we're, again, all these planets are going direct until April. And so in the beginning of April, we have a full moon on the 6th. It's the full moon in Libra. Sun will be in Aries, really nice for Libras, fire signs or air signs, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, or the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sag. And it leads right into the Easter weekend. So that should be really nice because the full moon is before. So then the 7th is Good Friday, the 9th is Easter. And then at the end of the month, well, halfway through, this is a day that should be on everybody's radar, okay? So it's the 20th of April. It's a solar eclipse. And it occurs in the very end degrees of Aries. Okay, 29 degrees Aries. So if people are Aries, they need to be aware of this, okay? So the sun and the moon will be eclipsed.
Is this our first eclipse? Because I knew we were going to cover eclipses.
Yeah, this is the first
of the
eclipse of
okay.
2023, yes.
Okay.
And it's Aries, which is the first sign. So interesting. It's a weird day because we have the eclipse and then we have the new moon. So it's like the eclipse happens like right around 12:13 a.m. that morning, and then the moon leaves into Taurus at 12:30, 15 minutes later, which is crazy. And then the sun goes into Taurus a few hours later. So that's a very strange day. And the next day on the 21st, Mercury retrograde. So I mean, right off the bat, I would tell people if they can stay away from traveling that week, let's say from about the 18th to the 24th, that could be a really strange time. And Aries can be explosive. There could be some kind of, international incident around that time, unfortunately. It's sort of an explosive time. And then we're going to have Mercury retrograde in the sign. Interesting this year. So the retrogrades are basically in earth signs. Last year they were in air signs. So Mercury will be retrograde in Taurus from April 21st through May 14th in Taurus. So we entered the year with that Mercury retrograde in Capricorn, and I'll talk about the other remaining two Mercury retrogrades in a bit. But April is a red flag month from about the 18th on, and so we're in the eclipse cycle from the 20th through May 5th. May 5th is a full moon. It also is Cinco de Mayo, but it's a lunar eclipse. And this is Scorpio Taurus. So the moon's in Scorpio and the sun's in Taurus, which traditionally affects money markets. I feel like this month of May is all going to be about money issues. And we've had these eclipses for the last year. All last year they were in Taurus, Scorpio. So that's why we're in sort of a recessive economy. So there'll probably be some more news on the economic outlook that may not be so good around the 5th. And it's at the mid-degree of Scorpio, which is an intense degree. So again, those first 2 weeks, Pluto goes retrograde on May 1st too in Capricorn. So this is going to be in Aquarius. I'm sorry, in Aquarius. So it's going to be a weird time, late April, early May. And if you have to go travel, stay away from those keynote dates, the 20th of April and the 5th of May. Because I feel there'll be some volatility in there. I actually have to travel during that cycle, and I looked at the 3rd of May is okay, and coming back on the 8th. I have to go see my son get his PhD diploma, so I'm not missing that one. So
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I'm traveling in the
Excited.
middle of an eclipse. I'm like, why did they put graduation day so close to an eclipse? But anyway, everybody, there'll be graduation throughout for colleges that first weekend, and they tend to be the first few weekends in May. So
that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, so then by the time we get to the new moon on the 19th of May, I feel like things have calmed down a little bit. Okay, that's not an eclipse moon. But it is all about money. It's in Taurus. So there's financial situations coming up in May globally and economically, especially in this country. I hope they solve that debt situation. And then we're going to get into June, and we have a full moon on the 3rd, which is the Gemini Sag moon, which is very nice and light. So June feels much better. June feels like a really good month too, and it feels like a good month for travel. And then we have a new moon on Father's Day in Gemini, which is on the 18th. So that's, it's funny because like end of April, May, danger. And then by June, we're in the clear. But that's how things happen these days. It's like they're moving fast, like what feels like a crisis, like within 4 days, okay, we're over that and into energy. So I guess people need to know after March, the energies are going to move very fast.
And what do you recommend people do during that time so that they don't freeze up and contribute to that fear-based collective?
Well, again, you're going to get some traction going in March. So in April, this cruising until Mercury goes retrograde on the 21st and the eclipse on the 20th, I just feel like people have to just be patient. You know what I mean? And reinitiate so that's a fire sign, right? We're cruising in a fire sign. We hit the earth sign of Taurus. And traditionally it's a time when people kind of slow down. Taurus is it's the bull. So it likes to think and it has patience. And some people say they're stubborn. So, but it will kind of slow down that warrior Aries energy and just have people get centered. I mean, it's a really good time. Earth signs are always a good time for body practices. So if whatever's going down makes one feel disconnected, get in your body. It's, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're into spring. Go out there and get into your body and go out into nature. So late April, May is a really good time to connect with the earth element and with nature.
Yeah.
And if you haven't exercised outside, it's a really good time to start connecting. Everybody's, so get whatever's going on in the collective. Don't align with it. Align within your own body, spirit, heart matrix.
Yeah. And, that's circling back to the beginning, too, about discipline, because regardless of whether it's a good day or a good month or things are, rocking financially or they're not, or, just, whatever's happening in the world, if we're taking care of our own spiritual practice beginning in the morning, like amen to that, because it just sets the tone for the whole day, then we are not reacting to the highs and lows and the good or the bad. We're just being and honoring ourselves. So if things are good, great. That's a bonus. And if they're not good, we're still good.
Yeah. Well, that's what the initiations of the last 3 years have been, 2020 through 2023, beginning of March 20. If you look at it, it's the 3-year anniversary of the lockdown, too, in March, when these things are happening, all these good planetary things. So what it is, it's about, whatever we had to, there's a lot of letting go, too, in the last 3 years, releasing the way we think it should be. There's been a lot of letting go, but I really feel like we're going from a real focus on third dimensional reality into what I call fifth dimensional or even higher realities. And so the whole manifestation, it's almost like what I'm telling a lot of my clients, throw out all the old new age, throw out all that new age stuff that was coming in when Saturn was in Pisces in the mid-90s, because we're in a whole different energetic now, okay? And things can happen instantaneously. So you want to heal something, like, put the intention is everything right now. Intention and vibration are everything right now. So it's weird. We have to be very selective where we want to put our attention and our mind, because, we can see manifestation happen instantly, or it's just crazy how things are speeding up or accelerating in the space-time continuum as well.
I love that. I'm actually writing that down as you're talking. I love that. Just that old letting go of the things that, might not apply anymore because things are moving so fast. Is there anything else you want to add to that, like new dimensional thing opening up? Because I think readers would benefit from that a little bit more deeper, and then we'll let you go, Jill.
Well, it's in line with this period of time. We're now Lunar New Year, the 2 weeks, and then again, it's the Piscean equinox when we come in. So between now and really March 21st. Okay, so if we want to bring in something new, what's the first rule? We have to let go of what's in the way, whether that's internally, consciously, or in our space, like our house. So this is a really good time for the clearing. So continue the clearing. Yes, a lot of us have been doing this for a while, but go through your space and get rid of things. And even if it's well, that's the only one of those I have, it's okay, if you really need another one, you'll get a new one. But I really think minimalistic right now is really important for some reason, because it's almost like if we are, energetically going to a whole new vibration, it's literally dying to our old selves to be reborn to our new selves without actually going through a literal death. So what do you take with you when you leave your body? Nothing. What do you take when you're going through the eye of the needle, which we are now, which is a lighter, finer vibration of ourselves? Well, we need certain things, but, everything, it's sort of like, trusting some of the spiritual literature out there of ask and it will be delivered, or ask and it will be revealed. And the trust in the higher self, or the self, or the spiritual self, or your divine, who you can, your divine deity of choice, or deities of choice. It's like giving up, it's sort of like surrender. That's what the whole Pisces thing is going to be about. It's like surrender. It's not about giving up. It's like, trusting that there is a spiritual force higher than yourself that you can fall back into the arms of.
Yeah, I love this. I think it's a really, really nice place to conclude, because those are the messages that I'm receiving as well. This whole thing about trusting at a whole other level, surrendering at a whole other level, and really asking and receiving. And the things that, it doesn't always come in our time frame, but that we are heard. So I think that that's a really, really nice message for people to receive today. And of course, they can get even more when they listen to your podcast. So how can listeners reach you, listen to you, book appointments with you, which I'll be doing soon for my birthday chart reading with you.
Thank you.
So how can they reach you?
Well, they can listen to my podcast, Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, available on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and many more. And the other way they can get in touch with me, and I really highly suggest it in this time period between the Lunar New Year and the Astrological New Year, which kicks off on March 20th, or any time of the year, to get a reading that will be individual for you. And I don't know, but I don't know anyone else who does readings with the modalities that I combine, which is the intuition, psychic, but really it's the Western astrology and also the Vedic astrology, which is another system. But I have created a system so that we cover so much in the time that people are with me, and I can do this via Zoom or in person. My new office is in Cohasset, Massachusetts, and it really is an experience for people. And I guess it is because they keep coming back, right? So it's the proof is in the pudding of how people experience the aftermath of the readings. They tell me all kinds of positive feedback. So I'm glad to hear that I can be of service that way. Yeah. So my website is JillJardineAstrology.com. Jill Jardine, JillJardine, Astrology, ASTROLOGY.com. All one word, JillJardineAstrology.com. Thank you, Jill.
You are so welcome. Thank you for being with us today at the beginning of the year to give people an astrological forecast of what's to come, and perhaps we'll check in with you mid-year as to the rest of 2023.
Sounds great. Thank you again, Jill. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you, Jill, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and thanks for listening.
If you like today's podcast, please hit subscribe and share with your people. And please check out my books and products at www.jillsylvester.com, where you can sign up for my weekly blog to receive tips and strategies to deepen your intuition and live your very best life. Thanks for listening.